afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Hot Wall. You know, when you look in the mirror and you realise you need to have a shave, I've just had that realisation. But nonetheless, good to have you here for another episode of the Hot Wall, the show where we rank the latest football shirts in a very large tier list, a very crowded tier list. And Elijah says, yo, Elijah with his customary greeting. Good to see Elijah. Good to see Thomas. Shame about South Africa there. How are they doing? He says, mentions in the cricket. I don't even know who they're playing, but yeah. Sorry to hear that, mate. John Carl, Alex, good to see you guys. Of course, we did this on Tuesday, and you can check out Tuesday's stream because today I wanted to basically catch up with the very latest kits today. So we should be doing that, I'm pretty sure. If anything, I think we might actually... Well, let's have a quick look. I'll just look as we're talking now. Yeah, no, we'll definitely catch up today because we've not actually got that many to review. So that's good. We can take our time a bit more and spend some time talking about anything else that comes up. Happy to say that the next kind of main Fool's Corner episode, that'll be live tomorrow morning. I've just edited that this lunchtime. That is a bit of a showcase of all the shirts I bought last year and a few shirts that you guys bought last year. So that's going live tomorrow morning. Yeah, I think that's the main things really. Of course, subscribe if you're new. Make sure you also check out my Patreon if you want to support me further. I'll give you as I go very blurry all of a sudden, I'll give you a quick shot of my scene here. This I need to update the timings here, but yeah, you can see here, guys. If you support me on Patreon, you get a range of benefits. The biggest thing, really, I think, is the community. It's a great community. We've got a Slack group. We, really sound bunch of people, and there's other benefits like a free shirt. Details in the description. Andreas, good to see you, my friend. Yeah, in fact, I need to open Photoshop, so let's do that now. But as we do that, I'll head over to Football Shirt Culture. And I want to say thank you to them. This video isn't sponsored by them in any way, but this is a really good site, guys, for keeping up to date with the latest releases. Now, we talked about Bilbao last week, but we skipped a few, didn't we? And I believe, did we get up to Stevenage? We'll soon find out as we open Photoshop, as I say. But yeah, how's everyone doing today? Hope you're all well. Thomas says, saw a Club America 94.96 on Depot for 100. Disappointed that I didn't buy. If that's the one I'm thinking of, that's one that does pop up every now and then. If it's the correct Club America shirt. But nonetheless, that is a good deal. Hey, you win some, you lose some. But yeah, as I say, if it's the one I'm thinking of, it's not the rarest one going. Doesn't mean it's not a good deal, though. One sec, guys. Let me just switch over there. We'll open up the Hot Wall. And then we will get to it. Yeah, hope you're well. I hope your weeks are going well. Yeah, please do as well as we're going through. Of course, any questions you have, whether it's about new shirts or anything else to do with football shirts, stick them in the chat. I'll do my best to answer them. And Lewis, yes, Spurs is going to feature. We're going to talk about that one today. Because we've not got to that one yet. So yeah, are you a Spurs fan? I take it. Again, sorry, David. It's Lewis or Louis. Yeah. Either way, that will be coming up. And Thomas was just the Adidas template. I think Germany used it. Ah, yes, that is a good one. To be honest, £100. It's actually quite cheap for that one. That is a pretty good price. Right. Guys, let's go to the Hot Wall. I'll just bring us to the screen again. And you can see here our list, our lovely list, which is overflowing with shirts. as I just tidy up my layers on the side here. Yeah, this is in many ways, we're not even into the main release season, which is kind of funny because obviously very quickly this list is going to get a bit too big. I've got ideas. Personally, I'd like to keep going, but we might get to the stage where we have to extend the list. I would quite like it to just be covered in shirts, but it may be a bit too silly. We'll see how we go. But anyway, we're going to pick up with Uruguay. So you can see here we did the Stevenage shirts, the aways there, and I think we did Bilbao, didn't we? Yeah, we did Bilbao, which was in the Volcano tier. Thank you, Lewis. That's really, really kind. Says thanks for a great page and channel, big Spurs fan. Yeah, no, today it should be interesting. I mean, I'm going to tell you now, I actually think the Spurs shirt has some good things about it. But let's get to Uruguay first. Now, well, in fact, let me just tidy up these layers quickly. There we go. Yeah, so the Puma shirts, honestly, they've not been too exciting. We've talked about them in different ways over the last couple of weeks. I think the collection just lacked a lot of character. It lacked a sort of story. Usually, whilst you have lots of different nations in a collection like this, usually there's something where you can say, oh, okay, that was their kind of design thinking. Honestly, there wasn't really a rhyme or reason, it seemed, from Puma. This one, it's funny because you guys already know what I think about this one. We've got quite a lot of people mentioning, I think, well, the ultra weave template, and I've seen a lot of comments about the feel of it not being great, and honestly I think that's fair, and I've not yet seen a Puma ultra weave shirt in person. I've yet to actually get a good feel of it, but what I will say is that it does remind me a lot of, at least from the look of it, of some of the Puma shirts we saw in the noughties, which had a feel which was quite, honestly, it wasn't the nicest to wear. So yes, it is very light, it seems to be, but I hazard a guess, or at least based on what people have said, that it will bring back some memories of some of those shirts. You can see some shots here, some good shots of ultra weave. Having said that, I like the overall aesthetic of the shirts, but just to comment about the material, but it has the one button, guys. It has that dreaded one button, which is just not to my taste. This one as well feels very Nike 2018, something like the France shirt. I think it was the France, or no, a number of the Nike shirts had this kind of very similar neckline. So honestly, without that, I think this has a shot. Maybe not hot, but certainly kind of in the candle tier kind of area. But we'll stick this one probably, I don't know, we'll stick it in the lower end of the candle tier, because I do actually think, despite the relatively bland approach to it, I actually quite like the choice of the gold Puma logo there. It matches the Federation crest quite nicely, and I actually quite like the Puma, the old school Puma logo on some of these shirts, but I mean, it's not going to go much higher than there for me. Will Palmer, good to see you, Will. Good to see you here at the channel. Thank you for your kind words. He says, if you checked out my local club, Grimsby Town, who just won the National League playoff. Honestly, Will, I don't believe they've come up yet, but assuming their new kits will be coming in the near future, it will certainly be reviewed or placed on the tier list. So yeah, but thank you for stopping by, Will, and thanks for those kind words, mate. That's really cool to hear. John Carr says, I only need one more team to finish all MLS. Tampa. There will be a repro that shows up. Miami Fusion is last on the list. Then it's Humphrey and inaugural shirts. Great stuff, John Carl. I must say, the pace you're going at seems pretty decent as well. And Thomas says, were you able to find out if you can enter the South Africa competition? I need to email them, Thomas. Yeah, that is on my list of things to do. Thank you for the reminder there. And yeah, and Thomas also mentioned about the Club Mocha shirt being in excess of 200. Yeah, no. So, sorry, I think I was thinking of another Club Mocha shirt. The one you mentioned there, yeah, that is a classic. But hey, as I say, you live to collect another day. Now, quickly on this Stoke third shirt. I mean, we already reviewed the home and away, and you can see here, guys, the home and the away both did very well. I actually put the away in this highest tier, in the volcano tier, and the home was in the flames tier. So both very good. And to be honest, this completes the set very nicely. I think obviously the pattern is the kind of key feature, and even though it doesn't go on the back, I do really like the look of this. And I can't tell for sure, but it looks like it might even be embossed, or at least it has a look of an embossed pattern. Again, I can't tell for sure. If it is a print, it's been achieved in a very nice way, but I think that looks like it's, whether it's in the material like a jacquard, or if it's actually embossed or debossed as the reverse of an embossed detail is. Regardless, it looks really good. I think, this is just 100% in the flames tier. And it looks, I think, particularly good in context with the home and the away. I think that's the biggest thing here. Obviously, we're trying to review shirts in isolation here, but the context is important. I think this one makes a lot of sense when you've got, if anything, the home and the third are quite similar colour-wise, but it's good to have a black shirt like this. And given that the big story of the home was the reintroduction of black, or the kind of, the use of black as a tertiary colour, I think it makes a lot of sense to then have it on as the primary colour of the third shirt. And I think this is excellent. I'm going to put it as high as this. What a trio from Stoke and Macron. Honestly, it really is. I mean, in some ways, it's also quite nice seeing the home, away, and third so close together, because typically you have to wait quite a while to see a team's full slate of kits. But I must say, guys, when it comes to some of the kits you're seeing in the Football League, there are some very good ones. This is an example. So excellent work from Stoke and Macron. Now we move from the Football League to La Liga. Barcelona. Of course, this is always one of the biggest releases, certainly in terms of the club. Many people around the world collect Barcelona shirts. Many people support Barcelona. A lot of kind of Nike's reputation really does ride on some of these big teams. And we've got a very notable template. Before I get to that, a couple more comments. Thomas says he knew a betting sponsor would get a volcano. Yeah, indeed. You know what? It's funny, isn't it? Thomas? We've got a betting sponsor. We've got that, like the gradient, like we said. I think some of these might be maybe due a slight nudge when we do our review in a couple of weeks' time. John Carter says my quest was a New Year's resolution. It's anyone I've ever stuck with longer than a week. Yeah, man. You what is it? 6 months in, and you're closing in. That is you've smashed that resolution. Tara says your resolution was to spend more money. John Carter mentioned he doesn't follow the black gold trend. Exactly. That's actually very quickly. If it was black and gold, it would not be as high. Yeah, so I was actually surprised at how positive the reaction was to this. I thought more people would be put off. It seemed to me, at least, talking about football shirt, Twitter, if you like, that there was quite a positive reception. And honestly, I think I really think Nike were onto something. I just wish we saw, two things. I do think the paneling, the shoulder panel, is a little bit too. It forces some shirts it's better than others, but it does dominate in a way which I don't know how they would get around that. I just don't think it's the most aesthetically pleasing. People, I think, are right to mention some of these kind of T90 vibes, and I think that's obviously an influence. And it's quite possible that these go down well over time, or they grow in appeal over time. So yeah, I think, I mentioned a few times on the channel, I liked some of the early leaks, or the very early kind of mock-ups where you had a bit of a higher neck. Perhaps not the most comfortable to wear for a lot of fans and players, but I liked that kind of idea. I don't think it would have to be high, but I do think something could have looked really quite cool, I think. And as I say, the other thing, it just reminds you of some of the kind of worse, or the particularly bad templates you've seen over the last few years. The Adidas Condivo template from a couple of years ago. New Balance have also, like, I think typically this isn't a great direction to go down. But having said all that, for this Barcelona shirt, there are elements which are quite nice. I do actually think the use of navy is pretty good. A lot of people commented on the navy. The very dark colour here, it reminds me a lot of some of those shirts from the late 90s. And I was surprised when I looked back on Barcelona's kit history. There isn't tons of recent shirts which have as much of this darker colour. Honestly, I kind of like that. I think that kind of little theme, I don't think it's a deliberate nod. It's more of an accidental thing, I would imagine. Or maybe it was an influence. I don't know. But yeah, like, in short, I think this is definitely, well, as I say, it's got a lot of people talking quite positively about it, and that's interesting to see. The Spotify sponsor, there's something quite novel about having a brand like Spotify. Yeah, it's fine. I actually don't think the gold is needed. I almost think it might look better, a bit more closely matched to the crest, but maybe in a more yellow gold, I should say. Anyway, that's a lot on the Barcelona shirt and the Nike template. I'm going to put it in the candle tier. I think largely on the basis of I'm not sold on the template, despite the kind of T90 vibes, and I love the T90 template, largely for nostalgic reasons. But really like to know what you think, guys. Obviously, with the Barcelona shirt, as I say, it will have a lot of people talking. A lot of people, I'm sure, will be picking one up. Particularly in the end of season sales, if you can get a player issue one, that could be the way to go. Thomas's candle is criminal, he says. I don't like this new Nike shoulder pad. It reminds me of when Wolves had that light blue and white away kit. That's the Condivo I was mentioning, Thomas. This is the best Barcelona shirt in a while. Honestly, I think it does have a lot of nice elements. This is the replica as well, I should mention, I think. But yeah, the stripes on the back, which, to be fair, a lot of Barcelona shirts do have. Yeah, no, honestly, I'm not feeling the template. But maybe I need to see more. This one, I have to say, this one is definitely a candidate to move higher as the months go on. Port Vale, I've got a rare shirt here, and Port Vale and Rare have had quite a good partnership. This one follows, I think, quite a tried and tested formula of a relatively plain body with patterns on the sleeves, and in general, I kind of like this approach. I think, of all the kind of, the many ways to do a football shirt, I actually quite like this sort of style where you've got, as I say, a clean body and then pretty crazy sleeves. A lot of the best kind of 90s Dortmund shirts did that kind of thing, and it worked well there. I'm looking at this pattern. It looks like it's some sort of glitchy. It looks like there's a photo or something has been manipulated there. I can't really tell. It kind of inspired by Vale Park. Yeah, so maybe it's a stadium or the fans at the stadium. The funny thing is, it doesn't really feel like a home shirt. This feels very much like an away or a third shirt. Not necessarily because it's a Port Vale shirt, but just the style of it feels to me like an away or third. But honestly, I like it. I actually think this is, as I say, a pretty nice direction to go down. The monochrome white and black, I like that. I think, there's been a lot of the best shirts are just one or two colours, and there's a reason that kind of things like the blackout trend have been so popular. Not that this is a blackout shirt, but I actually like this one. I like this one enough to put it in the Flames tier. More than the Barcelona shirt, more than all these shirts, most of these shirts here. So I'm happy to sneak this one in. Another relatively plain white shirt. It must be said, I've been pretty high on white shirts, which will please some of our regular viewers. Yeah. And Thomas, says could be Dortmund away from the 9-0. Yeah, I really do think, given, again, this isn't like one of the biggest teams here or anything like that, but I do think this is really good. I think just as a style, it works. I think it's Yeah, it's definitely the kind of shirt which I think will age very well. Obviously, some people aren't big on a crew neck. I actually quite like it. Yes, it is. If every shirt was like it, it'd be very boring. But I do actually quite like that approach. We see so many bad necklines, and it's good to see a good one there. Chivas, the new wrongly named 2002 home shirt. This is obviously 2022. The first thing really is that sponsor, isn't it? You see that, and obviously, and these guys, Caliente, I don't know who they are or what their business is. They sponsor a lot of teams in Central and South America, and I've seen many a good meme from that part of the world. Honestly, even though it has been incorporated in a sense, it really does dominate the shirt too much. It's absolutely huge. The way it breaks up the stripes, you could say it's got a bit of a 90s PSV vibe about it, but I think that would be generous. I do think this is a bit underwhelming, largely for that. The plain back doesn't help, and sometimes multiple sponsors can really elevate a shirt in a kind of novel sense. I kind of like sometimes, there's some shirts on these kind of, in the Flames tier even, or in the Cannon tier, which have multiple sponsors. But I don't think this is an example of one which does add a lot. And yeah, the front I just think is too much. I think that is too big. And it's one of those sponsors where you've got both the main logo and the URL. Yeah, it's not great. I think also just that Puma logo and the Chivas crest were very cramped. I mean, obviously, you can understand that they've tucked it in, but I think this one actually has to go in the Ice Cube tier, probably in the higher end of the Ice Cube tier. I think it's hard sometimes, isn't it, when you've got a sponsor like that? They've probably, in many ways you can understand why they've gone for that style of incorporating it with the white box. It's certainly one of the easier ways to go about it, but it doesn't usually lend for a good football shirt unless it's a really good sponsor, or maybe it's a sponsor they've had for a long time. You could sometimes get away with it. As is, I'm not a big fan of that one. Modern Bobber says Caliente is another betting casino sponsor. Even more unfortunate then. Louis says, I think the badge needs to be on white, otherwise it gets lost. Yeah, I think it doesn't stand out that well on the red. That's true. And even though you've got a little bit of an outline, I think that is not too hot. And on the Paul Veran just mentions 90 Normand. Yeah. No, literally, guys, that was one of the things I thought of. I think that is a sneaky good shirt there. We're not doing goalkeeper shirts. I will just quickly show you guys the two goalkeeper shirts. I'm sure you've seen it already. I'm hoping I can get a hold of one of these as well. This is Bristol City and Hummel doing their thing. What I really like about this, as far as I know, obviously this evokes many of those great 90s kits, but I really like that pattern, I think, anyway, isn't a direct kind of throwback, and I like that kind of creativity there. To take something which feels very 90s, but to create a new pattern, it looks good. I mean, honestly, it probably would be. I think, given the fact the pattern goes in the back, I think this would be a Volcano tier potential. But we're not doing that one because it's a goalkeeper shirt. The away is also really nice, or the goalkeeper wear, I should say. Bilbao, we did last week. So let's go to Aldershot Town, and we'll stay with a rare. Come back to a rare, I should say. And just catching up on the comments. John Carl says, I'll be low candle on the Chivas. Clearly says it serves its purpose. It does, that's true. Those Hummel goalkeeper shirts are fire. They are fire. And I mean, yeah, guys, I'm basically a Hummel ambassador, but at the same time, I would encourage you, consider picking up a goalkeeper shirt. I think from memory, these aren't too bad price-wise as well. I might be wrong on that. I want to say they're like 50 quid, but again, I might be wrong. I think in the past they've been very reasonable, and I think they still are. Yeah, I think they were really excellent. Raghav says would have loved a long sleeve. Yeah, it's true. I'm surprised. I think as well in the past they've had long sleeve for kid sizes, which makes you wonder why they don't have them for adults. Obviously, the industry still doesn't regularly offer long sleeves, which is a shame. Aldershot Town. Honestly, guys, I think this is some more really good work from Herrera. We saw the Port Vale shirt, which I really liked. This one is great. I mean, what's really funny is this sponsor is quite charming. It's so cute, isn't it? The little love heart and this little message celebrating 10 years as shirt sponsors. That it's kind of funny, but honestly, the fact that it actually matches, I don't know what the sponsor usually looks like actually, but it matches the colorway really well. So, I mean, mate, I don't know, has the shirt been recolored to match the sponsor, or is it the other way around? Regardless, that's quite a fun little nod. And you know what? This is very rugby league, isn't it? This kind of V design. Actually, I think it works, and even the neckline being a V as well, I don't mind that. I actually think this is quite hot. As I say, this is a really funny element. This element here, the sponsor, but you know the placement's good. The crest, though, again we talked about contrast, didn't we, on the Chivas shirt? A bit similar here. It doesn't really stand out very well. The sea sponsor doesn't look great though either, but I do think this is actually genuinely, I would put this in the Flames tier again, not the Chivas shirt, having the same issues that we've had before with the there we go, and then we'll go here. Yeah, honestly, this Aldershot shirt, that's a tongue twister, it's really good. I think this is one of those patterns where if you saw that as a template across multiple teams, you'd be a lot less excited about it. But I can't think of any teams, at least this season so far, that have had this approach, and I do think this is actually really smart and really good to see, like, teams, you know, lower down the divisions getting treatment like this. Honestly, Array are one of the best for this. I think if you think of lower manufacturers that really do thrive in the lower leagues, I think Array are very much up there. We've seen it twice now with Port Vale and now Aldershot. They deserve, I think, more bigger teams, if anything. They really are quite smart a lot of the time. And we're just trying to match that there. There we go. So I think, you know, I'd probably take the Port Vale one over this one. And where do we put we put the Port Vale there. So we'll sneak this one here at the top. It does sneak into the Flames tier though, for me anyway. Now, we're doing good, guys. We are going to catch up with, it looks like we're going to finish on Wolves today. A shirt I've honestly not had much of a chance to look at, so that's going to be good. Let us come now to Tottenham, to Spurs. And Louis mentioned this in chat before. I think my first thought is this one, honestly, it just suits the template better. I think compared to the Barcelona one, and I think it's probably going to be a theme. I know some people mentioned the same, where perhaps plainer shirts or shirts which don't have a contrasting panel will actually suit the template better. I certainly think that. And I think probably because it almost hides the fact that you've got that paneling and construction, which I wasn't a big fan of on the Barcelona shirt. It just looks better, I think. I think, you know, this shirt honestly has a lot of things which I like. I think we'll come to the sponsor in a bit. We'll obviously that's a negative, but if you look at again some shots here of the dry fit ADV, and we said the same with Liverpool as well. I think in many ways it actually again, on a plain shirt like this, it really works. It allows that you get a good look of that paneling, the ventilation sections, the kind of stuff which a lot of people don't care about, but I do enjoy in a shirt. I do enjoy seeing that. Regardless, it won't make any difference when you're playing five-a-side in it. But as a collector, I quite enjoy seeing those differences. And I think in terms of the style of the shirt, obviously you guys know I'm quite fond, generally speaking, of these kind of styles of collars and cuffs. And this luminous yellow or luminous green shade. I mean, this illustrates it quite well. You can see here a pair of Nike boots here. It feels very kind of Nike, and obviously Spurs have played around with this a little bit. It feels at home, and actually on the inside of these cuffs, you've got a kind of repeating word mark, which feels like the kind of thing that you would get at, I don't know, something like a JD Sports or Foot Locker. It feels kind of very, I'm going to sound really old when I say this, but very kind of fashionable. So yeah, Spurs shirts, it's hard to get too excited about them generally. John Carr says this is absolutely Spursy. Couldn't be for anyone else, enough said. But honestly, I think this is actually, if not the best, one of Nike's best home shirts. Yes, it's very plain, but I mean, the main thing really I would say is that I think when it comes to the template, it feels a lot better in the single color for me. Obviously the sponsor is a huge letdown, and that'll stop it. I think probably from even, well, the sponsor alone is one of the most, like, the color of it doesn't need to be red. It's blighted every Spurs shirt. It's quickly becoming the kind of the new Chevrolet with United, where no matter how much, whether it was a good shirt or not, the sponsor let it down. I think this one for me is probably in the high candle tier. And I do think again it's going to be interesting as the year goes on, but I do expect this to be one of the better Nike shirts in terms of the Nike home shirts, if you like, because I do think again it just seems, at least from my first impression, it seems to work a bit better in the single color. But I do like this one. I will put this in the higher end of the candle tier. I do think the color I like that luminous shade. It feels very Nike. I mean, I grew quite fond of the Liverpool home shirt, which had that kind of very bright peachy orange color as an accent color. I like that, and again, it's not for everyone, but you can see the thinking. There's some nice details. I should mention the cinch sponsor as well. Not great in the purple, but that's how it goes with sleeve sponsors. And you guys saying, Thomas says Spurs always have a simple kit. It usually does. It's usually done well. Yeah, it's not exciting, and if I was a Spurs fan, well, I can't imagine many people are buying the shirts every year. But I mean, often when you've got a team like this with relatively simple home shirts, it's as much about the club wanting to stick to it than it is about the brand. Think of England for many years. It's often not that Nike are doing are holding them back. It's usually the club or the country, at least from what I've been told. Lewis says, saw one edit where the Volt Hello was the Volt Yellow was white, was amazing, but this is a good kit. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see for sure. Let's go to Bristol City. So we are back to Bristol City. We talked about the goalkeeper, but this is the home. The story of this one was that it was inspired very much by an old shirt from the 50s, I believe, so a long time ago. But I mean, the other thing as well, it's really notable to see how Hummel have kind of taken the back seat, both through the manufacturer logo and even the chevrons being in a kind of just a slightly darker red to match the aesthetics of the old shirts from back in the day. Also the socks, we're not talking about the socks or rating the socks, but they are superb. Hoop socks are just great, and the chevrons there look good too. The collar, I think I'm sort of 50-50 in the collar. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense given the inspiration. It is very chunky. I'm not sure about the way it kind of comes down a bit here, but I'm being picky. I think generally speaking, for the style they're going for, I really like the fact Hummel have dumbed down the branding. I think that's excellent, and not a lot of brands would do that, or a lot of brands would probably still have their branding in white there. A lot of fans, I think, commented that saying it looks a bit like an Arsenal kit with the white sleeves, and I don't, from what I gather, Bristol City don't usually have white sleeves. I honestly couldn't tell you if that was the case or not. I'd have to look. The sponsor is fine. It's a little bit clunky. I don't believe it's I think it's a new sponsor. It's fine. It's a little bit, and you could say it was a bit imbalanced, but in short, I actually think this is pretty decent. I think the story, when you're trying to reference an old kit, it could be done well or it could be done badly. I think this is a good example of that. And just quickly, I shouldn't forget this little detail here. The little embossed robin there. That's pretty cool. That's a nice little detail on the back. So I think this one, I'm not fully on board with the look of the collar. Yeah, and I do think it makes sense to go for it. It's just I don't know. I'd have to see this one a bit more. But I think it is pretty good. Honestly, I think this is in the high counter tier for me. I do really like. My favourite thing is literally that Hummel have again taken a bit of a back seat. I think that's commendable, and it shows you like that honestly makes a difference. At least for me, I know I'm not saying high candle tier, but don't take that to mean I think it's a bad shirt. There's some good shirts in this area, in this kind of region. So yeah, really really solid from Hummel and Bristol City. I'll put it up here. Just pipping Spurs there. I think it could easily just sneak into the Flames tier. It is a pretty solid kit, and it gets, dare I say it, even better. Now I've not seen a lot of this shirt, but I am really liking what I do see. And this is the Dynamo Dresden home shirt from Umbro. Now, very interesting cuffs here. Notable that the darker line there, which is a kind of, is it like a maroon colour? Oh yeah, I can't tell if it's brown or maroon, but I'm guessing it's supposed to be the same colour as in the crest there. Johan, hello, welcome to the stream. Interesting that it's like it's not central. It's actually on the second of those four lines there. And it appears to be the same on the collar, and I'm trying to get a good look at the collar. It's not a great shot there. Is it the second line there as well? Yeah, you can see the second line. Anyway, interesting. A kind of off-centre. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but the overall look of the shirt is really strong. A shirt like this where effectively the cuffs and the collar are the main feature. It's a bit like when we talked about shirts that have kind of crazy sleeves but a plain body. Honestly, this approach can work. I would probably like to see those lines or the dark panel continue on the front. But I actually don't mind this. I kind of like the high neck. I talked about it. It's not necessarily what I was talking about when I mentioned the Nike shirts. But this is pretty good. And you can see the colour almost looks like a kind of a wine kind of colour. It looks good. Honestly, I think again, for a home shirt, I like this kind of direction. And I think this has got enough going for it to stray from being too plain. And say John Carl does say I like the dressing colour, but the shirt is too plain. Yeah, no, I actually think this one for me, I think because of again, it's not like it's unique to the shirt, but I do like the Dresden colours. And I do like as well. Honestly, I don't understand it, but I'm surprised by the detail here, and I kind of like it. I think were this a more typical style with maybe just 3 lines and the centre one being that colour, it would certainly not catch my eye as much. Now, whether that's a good thing or not, it might just depend on how I'm feeling on the day. But my first impression is a surprise in a good way, and honestly, I do think the colourway is very strong. I'd be happy to put it in the Flames stand, pretty high up. There's other shirts here which you can see that are relatively plain, but things like good colours, good details. Obviously, again, not exclusive to the shirt, but if you've got a good crest, and I love the Dresden crest, it's one of my favourites. I've just seen it as well, and again, I've not read the press release, but you can see here, you see the 4 lines on. Oh no, it's more than 4, isn't it? It's 5. You kind of got 4 black lines and 5. Well, they're not. They're 4. Sorry, 5 gold lines, which kind of create 4 black lines in the middle. I was going to say this is almost like a reverse of that in terms of number of lines, but anyway, that's a train of thought which I've not fully formed in my head as I said that. Tom says the orange at the bottom is so random. I think that is just the back panel. Thomas running longer than the front, as some shirts do. I'm trying to think if that was it Adidas did that for quite a few years on their player issue shirts. I think that's the kind of the vibe. Right, we've got a few more to go, so let's go to Newcastle. Oh, sorry, let's go to Getafe first. I think, yeah, we'll try not to be too slow because I've been going at a nice steady pace, but you do want to finish. Getafe, I must say, these colours aren't particularly attractive. We've got the home, away, and third. Now we look to share template, and there's a certain charm to that in terms of a share template. And interesting to see what looks like a load of planes as a subliminal detail. I kind of like that actually. It's a bit twee maybe, but and a very interesting. Wow. Okay, so it's like an asymmetric neckline here, asymmetric collar with a much thicker side. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It does. Well, it looks a bit odd. Now it's different, but different isn't always good. And I've never realised that the Getafe crest has a load of planes. Is that so? I've seen that crest many times and never noticed that. So there you go. The more you know, the more you know. Yeah, I think starting with the home, I don't really think the blue and the green works particularly well. I think especially and it might just be the different materials, but the fact that the green isn't the same as the crest, I might be wrong on that. Yeah, I don't know. It feels a bit kind of lower end training top to me. I think honestly, I'd probably put this one. I think the subliminal pattern actually looks pretty good. I will probably sneak this into the counter tier, but the asymmetric collar is very confusing to me. I mean, it is a tricky area on the shirt. The collar is a tricky one to really get right, and in many ways, compared to a lot of the collars we see, that isn't actually the worst. But yeah, I'm not really feeling this one, certainly at first glance anyway. So we'll stick it there, and we've got different colorways. I mean, I think probably these two are even lower. Yeah, it's again like for whatever reason the crest. I know you don't have to match colors to the crest, but the red being a bit darker than the red there, it's throwing me off a little bit. In general, I think I probably would put that in the Ice Cube tier. And I don't think that's a very nice colour combo at all. I don't like that shady green with that blue. So yeah, these are both, I think, Ice Cube tier. I mean, Joma, honestly, I'm not usually that excited by Joma shirts. They've had good kits before, don't get me wrong, but when you compare, someone like an Herrera or Macron or a Hummel, of course, I mean, unless I'm forgetting some good Joma kits, I typically see Joma as a cut below some of those guys. That's my take anyway. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think about Joma. We'll stick this one here in the higher end of the Ice Cube tier, but this third shirt I think will be even lower. Yeah, not feeling that one there, I must say. Andres says the third kit reminds you of level 7 from the original Zelda on Nintendo. Brilliant. I do appreciate a gaming reference. There. So let's get that one in the Ice Cube tier. Yeah, I think honestly it's that shade of green isn't attractive. Yeah, I'm actually gonna put it pretty low as well. Let's fill out some of these gaps here. Yeah, not a hot shirt from Getafe. John Costa design. This design is deceptive. I think it sits in line and could go either way. Yeah, I think honestly the spindle pattern looks pretty decent, but not much more for me at least. Now, Newcastle shirt. Obviously, Castor are making significant moves. They're snapping up a lot of teams, and despite their growth, I mean, I said this before in a recent YouTube Shorts video that I put on the channel. I'm yet to be wowed by them. I think this is probably one of the better efforts. It is interesting to me how the Castor logo is matched very much to the sponsor, and I think that for what is already one of the clunkier sponsors in the league, it sort of gives it greater prominence. But this has a lot of things I like to see. I like, there's been a few shirts even today that have had this kind of collar and cuff style, and that's solid. Straps on the back is good. The detail here of the ears looks pretty bad to me. I think, I know some people commented on the fact, why weren't these letters in all caps, and I think that would make a lot of sense. It looks a bit amateurish, honestly, there. Even the style of crest I don't think is great. When you see some of the quality kind of plastic applications you get now. Yeah, I think this is the player issue version. But so it's an improvement on last year, it goes without saying. We don't have the giant 4, which will be missed for comedic reasons. But again, I don't get it, guys. I don't get these little ventilation holes. And they seem to be the case on a few. They seem to be there on a few Castor shirts. I'm not really feeling it, and yeah, no, I'll put this one, I think, in the Candle tier. But I was thinking this week, I don't know whether I just have a bit of a prejudice against Castor, and I think I actually do, and that's not a good thing. As someone who tries to be, oh, my computer's frozen here. Do let me know if you can still hear me, guys. I think this is just Photoshop. There we go. Yeah, I don't, I try to be as objective as possible. I don't want to just be someone who says, Hummel shirt good, Castor shirt bad. But basically at the moment, I think, and this is the kind of old man yelling at cloud kind of vibes here for me, but when a brand kind of comes into the scene and just snaps up a load of contracts, I'm kind of thinking, okay, you're getting all these deals, show us what you're made of, and I don't think they're actually putting it to good use, basically. Now, time will tell. They've got some huge deals. I'm sure they will put out some better stuff in the coming years. But we will see. And just replying to some people, Smudge Sports says hello. Good to see you, Smudge Sports. Not seen you for a few weeks, but good to have you here. Thomas says, nice show, crap sponsor. Yep. John Carl on the Getafe says, nice. It says, I like that green. You could use it on a Roku for high vis. No 4 on the Newcastle shirt as a win, indeed. Marcos says, it seems that Castor really tried to make the sponsor work in terms of colour, only for it to be maybe replaced, at least according to rumours. If that happens, the shirt might look much, much worse. Yes, excellent point, Marcos. And actually, that is a very good point. Because, yeah, they've incorporated, they've almost kind of made, changed the colour of the Castor logo. Yeah, it's going to be that. You know what? That will be a very interesting story. We will wait and see what happens there. And Junko says, Ice Cube last year was a low bar. Don't let this one fool you. You know what? I think it has influenced me, but I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it here. But yeah, with a potentially with a different sponsor, even though that is a bad sponsor, at least the color makes sense now with the Castor logo. Will that be a different color? Yeah, that could be even worse. Now, this is another shirt I've not really seen much of. Stade de Reims or Reims. I don't know how you say that in the proper way. French team. I really like that collar. I really like that neckline. I already mentioned how I like. I've said it a few times. Just today. This one has a nice classic feel to it. I'm struggling to get a good shot of the shirt here. We've got some very busy press shots. You can see on the women's shirt that you've got no sponsors. Honestly, when you've got multiple sponsors, yes, it's very busy, and the kind of this very stylized new crest gets completely kind of lost, doesn't it, in the sponsors? But they're all white, which is good. I mean, it's the bare minimum, but it's still something there compared to what it could be. I really like this style of collar. Like, genuinely, that alone makes you think this has flame steer potential, and it is relatively plain, but they've incorporated. I mean, it doesn't. It feels like a South American shirt with a number of sponsors and the placement, or even like a Japanese shirt. I think you guys know, I actually don't mind that. I don't mind it if the colours work, and they do work here. I think. I'm gonna sit this in the flame steer. It is plain, and obviously, you could say it's just like it's got the Arsenal vibe again with the red body, white sleeves. But I do think that style works, and I honestly, as a base style, I think it actually looks pretty good. Alex, thank you, Alex. This is one classic feature of the Hot Wall when I get some pronunciation guides, and we see here Alex saying pronounce rants in a slightly aggressive fashion. I like that a lot. Thank you, Alex. Looking out for me, as I butcher various team names. Yeah, so this I rate this one. Oh gosh, Newcastle come back to haunt me there. My Photoshop is having a few problems, it seems. To be fair, the size of this file is probably getting a bit unwieldy now, isn't it? And we're not even in July. It's funny, isn't it? July, like most shirts, are released from July onwards. Yeah, this is. I definitely need to think about a contingency plan before this all completely goes to pot. But I don't know. Maybe it'll just look funny to have so many shirts. I like this one. I do like the overall look of this. I'm happy to put this quite, in a very solid position there. Yeah. This kind of ticks a lot of boxes for me, and actually, despite the sponsors, I actually prefer the sponsored version. Yeah. Roll the R. If I could roll the R, I would. But yeah, I'm not going to embarrass myself there. 3 more shirts, guys, as we close, and we come to West Ham now. So another Umbro shirt. Honestly, I don't like this one as much as other recent Umbro West Ham efforts. Yeah, I mean, this neckline, it feels a little bit, maybe a bit too big, or the cuffs as well, that they're quite large. I don't really like that kind of grungy aesthetic on the arms. Again, when we mentioned like the Port Vale shirt, for example, I think that achieved a similar look much, much better. And you can see it looks like, is it like the Umbro logo there? But it doesn't look good. I don't think it looks good at all, personally. I think it looks so out of place. The shirt is very plain, and then you've got what looks like a very kind of grungy, for want of a better phrase, grungy pattern. And then again, like maybe the cuffs or collar could have some of that. Even in the body, like some sort of subliminal pattern to help kind of continue that story. It feels like that shoulder element, I don't understand where that's come from. I think this is referencing an old kit, am I right in saying? Yeah, so 30 years ago. But I don't think it looks good. So I'm actually going to put this straight in the RS Cube tier. Interested to hear what you guys think. There we go. I can talk English. Jamie in the Ransom says West Ham shirt reminds you of the back window sponsorship. Yes, exactly, Jamie. That's one which a few people did also mention, which I don't think was that great either. But obviously, if they've had a promotion season, there's some sentiment there. But yeah. So I think why is that? Where is that Newcastle logo coming from? Oh, sorry, that picture coming from. I don't see it. I think my Photoshop's just having problems here. It probably just needs a rest. Yeah, I think this is in the Ice Cube tier for me. I do think it's a step back. Obviously, I mean the thing is West Ham, they already had a shirt which was referencing an old kit last season. So to come back to that again, I feel like, yeah, I just don't think, honestly, I don't think it's a nice looking shirt. The collar, not a big fan of. Not a big fan of the cuffs either. And it's just this element feels so out of place, and the kind of the scratchiness of it feels like a completely different direction to what the rest of the shirt is telling me. That's my take anyway. John Carl says we haven't even got to the bulk releases. Yeah, I mean, unless I'm kind of misinterpreting this, I'm in previous years most shirts are released from July onwards. So I don't even think we're halfway here, which is hilarious. I mean, looking at this lovely list, I wonder. Yeah, there's two. I'd personally probably like to stretch it sideways, but at the same time, it might actually make sense to maybe, if we did something like, I'm just looking here. Yeah, you could get a lot bigger for sure. I think we probably will have to, but then I don't know. I kind of like the business of it. Anyway, that's for me to figure out. That's for us to figure out as we go along. Burton Albion. The brand Tag. Now, a company I've not seen much of at all. Is this an in-house kit? I don't know. Let's have a look. So, notable that it's 100% recycled material. That's good to see. The pattern of this one, I mean, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I've mentioned before, well, two things I mentioned that are kind of little bugbears of mine. It turns out I've got a few of these, to be honest, guys, but one of them is words in subliminal patterns. Now, this is just the club letters, but I typically don't like it, and we've got on top of that a bit of a gradient. So, two things I don't typically like, and even though black shirts are often quite wearable, often black shirts are some of the more the more popular designs. There's a reason clubs often go for them, even if they don't have black in their colour scheme. A lot of clubs do it, but I don't think the words there look particularly good. I think it looks cheap to me, honestly. This neckline, it feels very kind of Kappa from last year, doesn't it? We've seen a few necklines of that from different brands. Back sponsor the colours stand out a bit too much, don't they? You can see there's what looks like a detail, but it gets very lost. Honestly, it feels like they were going to go for a blackout shirt and then chickened out at the last minute. So I think, despite my negativity there, I probably would actually still. I've got the problem there with the safe. We'll go there. I think, despite my negativity, it's maybe in the top end of the Ice Cube tier, bottom of the Candle tier. I think probably in the Ice Cube tier, though, to me. It's got too many things which, at least to my taste, just do not. Do not float my boat. I think actually, I appreciate that it's not black and gold because I've seen a lot of black and gold shirts. But the whole shirt just looks a little bit halfway. Now, I think I'll put it in the counter tier because I do think, again, black, the kind of this is very much the kind of floor of a black shirt. I mean, there are some black shirts in this tier, but I think it's more stylistic things that I don't like. But actually, with a better sponsor, a different approach to the pattern, I think honestly that wouldn't be too bad. Certainly isn't a away kit anyway. And then we finish, guys, with Wolves. Now, this is another Castore kit. My first impression, honestly, isn't actually too bad. I mean, what is with? Okay, I'm going to put a tweet out soon. maybe even once this stream finishes. What is with these like details? They look so cheap. Yeah, I'm gonna hold that thought and tweet out something in 10 minutes. Anyway, yeah. Now the biggest thing here, from my first scan through, and this is I saw one picture on Twitter, but I've not yet looked at this shirt. What is that black panel there? I don't understand what that is. Yeah, I think again, like looking at this element here, the black kind of collarbone lines. I'm not sure what they're achieving or what they're really bringing to the shirt. A small thing which a lot of shirts don't do, where the cuffs, the detail doesn't go all the way around. I don't understand why that's a thing, but it does seem to be. And you can see like they've got all these product shots, all these close-ups of these panels, and it just looks like, I mean, if this is what you're highlighting on your shirt, and plain shirts, guys, can be good if you've got interesting construction or material kind of usage, nice bespoke details, but not stuff like this, not stuff like that. And these again, the little ventilation holes. Honestly, when I see stuff like this, you know, I know not everyone is a Nike or an Adidas, but when you see stuff like this, to me this screams we're trying to justify a player issue shirt, and we're putting this in for performance reasons, quote unquote performance reasons. So I'm dunking on Castore again, but I actually think this is probably in the Ice Cube tier. I prefer the Newcastle shirt to this one, and I don't really love the Newcastle shirt. Yeah. So guys, I must say again, I'm yet to be wowed by a Castore shirt. I mean, I'm trying to remember what the Wolves shirt was like last year. I think honestly this might be better than last year's one, but for a brand, okay, so I get it. Like, that's not what I wanted to do. I get it. You know, they're obviously relatively new in the shirt space, but they're snapping up all these deals. And just from a collector's perspective, from a shirt enthusiast perspective, I don't think they're bringing much to the table, and I don't think it's good news for shirt. Like, you know, I'd take many other brands over them just from a shirt perspective. They honestly, for me, they're contributing far too little to the shirt space, and it does sound harsh, but that's my take anyway, guys. Alexis Castore put holes in the back of the England Test cricket shirt too. Yeah, look, I get it, like, and it's been a thing obviously for a while, but I don't know. I think it looks a bit dated. But guys, sorry to end on a bit of a negative note, but that is our dated Hot Wall. Am I right? No Volcano 2 editions, yeah, but we did have some good shirts. We did have, you know, a couple that were in the Flames tier. I mean, again, the Stoke one was really good, but Port Vale as well. I mean, you know, that's some sneakily good stuff there from Port Vale. But not the best day, not a vintage day for the Hot Wall. But that's how it goes sometimes. You know, it was good to spend time talking about Spurs and West Ham and Wolves, some of these, you know, bigger teams. And I think when all is said and done, I've just noticed as well, it's a nice kind of synergy there where the Liverpool and the Spurs shirt, I think there's a similar pattern there, where actually the Nike shirts that are quite plain, I think look pretty decent. Barcelona, I'm not as big on, but time will tell. That could very much rise in people's estimations. But there we go. And Alex was saying, I'm not a fan of me, mate, very lacking creativity. Yeah, that's kind of my feel as well. But guys, it's always a blast doing this. Thank you for hanging out. We are caught up. I think it's the first time we have actually caught up to date with the latest releases. I mean, the funny thing is, there's going to be a few weeks in June where I'm going to be away. It's my birthday at the end of the month, and I'm going to be visiting family as well, and stuff like that. So we'll be missing a few shows. So we'll have to do it all again. But nonetheless, it's been good as always. Also, as well, I'm waiting to hear back from Red Star, so I will let you guys know about that. But that is exciting to wait and see what happens there. Yeah, and there's other good stuff coming up on the channel. We've got a video coming going live tomorrow, showing you my pickups for May, or pickups for last month. But yeah, Thomas, thank you, mate. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. And everyone else who's watched, maybe you've been watching, you've not commented, but thank you anyway. You know, some of these streams we get, 20, 30, 40 people. Some of them are more like 5 or 10. It doesn't really matter to me as long as you guys are enjoying the content. And I enjoy spending time with you. Your insight, again, I sound like I'm going to gushing over you here, but I love it when I'm doing these streams and people will point out, maybe it's something about the design, maybe it's correcting my pronunciation of a team's name, whatever it may be. I really enjoy these streams. When I started doing these, I wasn't sure if I would be continuing them, but now they're one of my favourite parts of the week. And, maybe if the channel grows loads, I will still be planning to do them. And if it stays like it is, I will still be planning to do them. Anyway, let's say enough soppiness. I will head to the outro screen, but thank you so much for hanging out as always. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you aren't already a subscriber, I'm sure you are, but if you're not, make sure you are. And if you leave a like and a comment, it always helps as well. Nice one, guys. I'm off to tweet about a store. Another negative thing. I'm going to be getting a message from them soon, I think, telling me to, to lay off. But I'm not feeling their shirts. That's my take anyway. And just thank you, mate. And thank you everyone else. As I say, I will, say goodbye. If I don't see you before the weekend, I won't see you before the weekend. Have a good weekend. And I should be back. I think the streaming schedule for next week should be the usual. Should be Tuesday. Should be doing the eBay stream on Tuesday. And then we'll follow up with the Hot Wall next week. Thank you again, guys. See you very soon. Take care.